Okay, so I think I have my rotation correct now on this video. I'm really sorry for all the people who've had to deal with this stuff. I'll tell you what, I appreciate technology. I kind of hate technology a lot of the times, especially when it seems like it works for everybody but me. Why is that? I don't know. Anyhow, so I was got the other one online. Fireweed is online. It was rotated sideways. I tried to flip it. I was able to on my computer when I watched the video, but when I had it on Facebook, it doesn't look like I can flip it. So I'm going to see if I can maybe save it somewhere differently. I don't know. I don't do video editing, so I'm trying to figure it out. But I will try to straighten that one out. I may not be able to get to it with trying to get all these other ones redone and everything, but this one I do think is going to at least be rotated the right way. Okay, let's get going. We're doing now Northern Flora, block number 5, Lupine. So I've got all my cathedral window appliques cut out, and we went over that in the fireweed one, and for those of you who got to see the first videos, and when I redo them, we'll do that again in blocks 1 and 2 usually. I think I did those just to make sure people know what we're doing. I've taken all my labels. So here's my photocopy I made. Here's all my applique pieces, and I've gone through and I've labeled everything according to what it says over here. Got all my stuff labeled, and I've got my light table, and I'm ready to get going. Oh, I've also got my background square cut to 10.5-inch square. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're just gonna get started on this one. So getting my paper off to the side, got my, make this so we're in the center here, got my photocopy to lay out onto. So I'm gonna go ahead and line up, you know, these top little pieces or these little lines here, and then these 2 bottom lines. Going to go ahead and lay out on point my background and turn on my light table. Nice and bright. I'm going to just, woo, that's really bright. Oh, maybe I had it back. Let me lower it. There we go. So it's not too, oh, darn it. There. So it's not too bright for you guys. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and start. So I have my arrangement here, but I'm going to read from my book. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with step A. So the first thing we're going to do is the bud background. So what is the bud background? It's on this dark green. It's this little piece here, and it's labeled bud background. Now, what is this? Well, there's a whole bunch of tiny little pieces at the top of Lupine, and they don't all overlap. If I had, there's a bunch of pieces already there. And if I had made it to where you didn't see any background color coming through, you would have had to add about another 5 or 6 more tiny pieces. So instead, I just stuck kind of like a background behind it to make it so you don't see the blue coming through, you see green. So this just kind of goes inside this top area. So let me see here. Actually, I think I'm going to put it down here where the point is of the stem and lay it in there so I can kind of see these other pieces. So it's just kind of in the background for these top little pieces at the top of the flower. And then we're going to start with this very light pale color, pale lavender color. And we're going to start with piece 1. Pop that one out. Oh, but I have some little threads. And if you have little threads showing, just snip them off with your thread scissors. And we're going to put piece 1, piece 2, just line it up there, piece 3. And so seeing through that little bud background can get a little challenging because it's dark. So as I mentioned before, and you can kind of see how like right here, you're going to have a little bit of green peeking through. That's why it's there. It's to kind of hide that. Piece 4 is a little like, where the heck is piece 4? Well, I will find it and I'll show you. Piece 4 is with this like little bit of a darker pink, what is it called? Or lavender, it's called Passion Tea. So it is right up here. Piece 4, because it does kind of go from that really pale down into darker colors. And 4 is this little guy peeking out here. And then 5. So I don't really look as much at this as I do my photo over here. So I'm kind of referencing up here. I'm looking at this as I'm going through and laying them down so that it's easier for me to kind of look at this and then kind of say, okay, it's in the middle here. I'm going to put this one in the middle versus trying to find it on here. Now, if you are doing it at home and you don't have to try to lower your light for an audience, you can always brighten that background up. Or as I mentioned before in the fireweed one, another really good way to be able to see the color better through through darker colors like this one is going to be to turn the lights off above you, so that the only light in the room is your light table. And if you don't have a light table, I didn't mention this in the last class, but I have told people before, if you don't have a light table or you're not sure that you want to invest in a light table at this moment, because they're great if you start doing a lot of my designs, you'll probably definitely want to get one. Here's 8 over here. So getting into this darker color of lavender, is just taking a glass table and sticking a light bulb underneath it, like a lamp or any sort of light, even a flashlight would work. The other thing is I'm just gonna focus here for a minute, put this on there. I'm kind of estimating where these are based on my reference there because it's hard to see through this. So I'm just kind of making sure I'm filling this space, putting them sort of in the general area where they should go. 10 is in here and I really can't even see where it goes. Now, one of the other things I will do sometimes if I really do want to be accurate is I'll put my hand on that little 10 sticking to my finger there, put my hand on the fabric to hold it in place, and I'll lift up and like kind of peek and go, oh, okay, I can see 10 goes right about in here. So that's another thing. But if you hold your hand in place while you lift, that kind of holds it so that you don't mess it around a lot. 11 is green. So anyways, I was saying that another option for a light table that's inexpensive is the little art tables, or art light tables that they have at art supply stores. I bought my daughter one that's meant for paper that's 8.5 by 11. So any of these designs, they fit on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. They're going to fit on an 8.5 by 11 light table. So at art supply places, the one I got my daughter, I think was on $25. So it's a less expensive option should you want to get a light table for at least doing these blocks and maybe, you know, other art that you might do or tracing that you might do on, you know, paper that's 8.5 by 11 size, before investing in, you know, a large one. But as I mentioned, if you end up enjoying doing these designs and you think, I might do more in the future of Dana's stuff, a light table is great. And this one that I'm using is actually, hold on, I gotta think for a minute. Here we go, 13. This one that I'm using is actually an 18 by 24 size. There is a medium size too that I think is, I think it's 18 is the long way and the other way is maybe 15 or so. But it's a really nice size as well. So 13 is down here and then 14 is gonna overlap on 12 and 13 there in the middle. So you see that kind of there's like this little row of green that goes through this bud. And I'm not being super particular where I'm placing it, because I can't see the picture really well. And again, like I'm saying, I'm just trying to fill the area. And if you put something down and then later you're like, oh geez, I have a gap there, you can always pick these up. You know, here, I'll like this green one. I'm going to pick it up. Maybe I'll just move it down a little bit. Even if it's not perfectly on where the background says it should be, that's okay. So 15, I do kind of want to place where it's going to go because the stem is going to cover it. So I'm just going to flip up and look. It's about right here. 16. Is this guy over here? 17. Also this passion tea color. And it's going to be right in this area where, again, the stem is going to come onto it. So when I lay the stem down, if it doesn't fit exactly where I want, I can pick that up and wiggle it around. That's one of the things with any of these that you can do right now. They're not fused in place yet, so you can absolutely move them around if you need to. So now 18 is from the dark purple. So we're starting to kind of get into some of the darker colors. 18 is right over here. Oh, wait, did I go? Oh no, I want to do 18. Okay. I was going to say, oop, don't want to keep going before I put my stem down and I also, you might notice I've wiggled my thing. So I'm going to put it back in place. Nothing's really out of place so much, but if it was like 18 got moved a little bit, so I'm just going to lift that one up with my nail here, fingernail, put that kind of center that back where it should be. But the buds, I'm just going to leave them where they are. They're good. Even if they're off a tiny bit, that's okay. I always tell people, don't worry so much if they're off a little bit. Okay, so now we've done the bud background flower petals 1 through 18. And it's telling you again there that flower petals should be arranged in alphabetical order. So as we get past 18, 19, I think when we get to 20 is our first one, that you'll have a 20A and a 20B. So when you have something that has like 2 or 3 colors, you want to then do them in alphabetical order under that in this case. So every petal is numbered. It's all numerical. But if you have a 20A, that means you're going to have a 20B. You might have a 20C. So just double check yourself on those ones. If it just says 1, 2, 3 through 18, they're just singles. If there's no A or B afterwards, it's just a single one. So, okay, so now, and we get to the end of that explanation, it says at the very end of A, and stem. So don't forget your stem. So I'm just popping the stem out, kind of gently going down all the way. Just kind of pull, pull, pull. And sometimes, like right here, my paper kind of tore. I don't care about the paper tearing. I'm peeling it off anyhow. But if you have any areas where like right there, I have a thread that's really sticking. And I don't want to pull too hard because what will happen is it will actually pull it out of the weave. And then I have a little gap that you don't notice it once your light table's out, but when you put it down, when the light table's there, you'll kind of see the light shining through where that thread was pulled out. And you might think, oh my gosh, it looks terrible. Once the light table's under there, you won't really notice that. But when the light table's on, you can sometimes notice it pretty well. And people will think, oh shoot, that's gonna look terrible, but it'll actually be fine. Okay, so now that we have this stem, one of the things with these longer kind of pieces is when you peel that paper off the back, you remember that this is still woven and it has no security for the weave at this point other than the glue. And the glue is stretchy. So sometimes when you peel off a really long piece, it can stretch the applique slightly. And if I pulled on this, I could easily stretch it. So occasionally you'll lay something down and you'll think like, oh, I set it right up here. I'm going to start up here and line it up. Okay, that's fine. But as I go down, maybe it's not really fitting correctly. And it's getting, you know, like a little too long where towards the bottom, you're way off. So one of the things I like to do is I kind of like to center, go from the middle and say, okay, right about like, let's say right here. I'm going to make sure that that stem in the middle is in place. And then just go up and say, okay, up, 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 where everything's going, everything's laying down where it should. And actually those all laid onto their little stems really well. And then I'm going to go down here and, oop, I bumped my thing again, and just let it fall down. And then if it's off a tiny bit from stretching it all, it might be slightly off on the bottom and slightly off at the top, but it's not going to get to where the top looks fine and the bottom's way off. It might just, it kind of gives it where that stretch is able to sort of be absorbed in small amounts overall through the whole thing. Okay, so now we've finished step A. Let's go to step B, all cathedral window pieces. So again, when you lay these down, you don't necessarily need to put them down in any specific order on this one. So we're just going to kind of center it. The tips will hang off a little bit. And don't worry if you wiggle your stuff around a little bit, if you wiggle. But sometimes I'll just move it, you know, just like, okay, I like to kind of put it right in front of me. And I'm just going to not worry about the background at the moment. And just center it right in front of me instead of trying to center it, you know, at an angle to your side or something. Okay. Put these down. So earlier today, I tried to do the video where I was filming a video on my phone and then uploading to Facebook. And guess what happened when I went onto the Facebook group to try to upload the video? It says photo video. I click on my photo video of my camera, and all it would show me is photos. It would not allow me to upload the video. So instead of throwing my phone out the window, I went into my house, I got on my computer, and I put the video on my computer and then had to upload it from my computer. And at first my phone didn't want to let me take the video off my phone, or I mean, my computer didn't want me to take the video off my phone. And I was like, okay, is this like, I'm not meant to do video tutorials. And then I thought, no, this is ridiculous. I'm going to figure this out if it's the last thing I do. And I finally got it to work. And that's when I saw it was sideways. And I was like, okay, I love you guys. I'm going to cry pretty soon if I can't get this to work. So I'm just going to post it. And I'm sorry if you have to look sideways. I hope you can rotate it. If not, just imagine you're standing next to me watching me do it from the side. I'm going to try to get it to rotate somehow. We'll see if I can get there. But right now I was just grateful that it finally got uploaded. So, okay, so let's get back to this. So now we have done 18. So now we're on step C. I've got all the cathedral windows. Oh, we're not doing flowers right now, so hang on. Step C, we're going to do leaves A through C. And now with leaves, they're A through C. So if they have an A1 or an A2, you want to do those before you move on to B. So, so let's see, what do we have? We do have an A1. So that means there's going to be an A2. So just pop that out. And it is down here. And A2 is the little veins. Now these are very delicate, so when you're popping them out, just kind of be gentle with them. And if something tears, if you end up having where like the tip of one tears off, and it's a pretty big piece, or maybe the whole thing falls off, you can very gently take those pieces. I gotta figure out which way this goes in here. Just kind of center the veins on there. So say this one broke off midway through. I can lay it down and then take that broken piece and just lightly butt it up to the edge where it would have connected and lay it down. And you probably won't even notice that there was a tear in there. When you go to steam it, the glue is going to fuse everything together and it's not going to show up anyhow. So if you do have where a vein tears and this whole end fell off, don't feel like, oh, now I just ruined it. So you could do, the other thing you could do is you could take your thread scissors and you could just trim that stem down, zoop, 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 make it a little point, and then just let it be a little bit of a shorter vein. But if you just take that piece that broke off and just stick it right up next to it where it was supposed to be, it will end up basically fusing back together. Okay, so now let's do B. B1. B2 is actually the little vein here. And B is it's got an extra little part to it because it's meant to, oh, and see here's an example. I just pulled this out and I don't know if you can see very well, but this tip here, it's missing its fabric. It's right there. So it's a very small tip and sometimes it's not worth trying to fix because it's so delicate. So I can do two things. I can lay this down and I could just go with my thread scissors and I could just trim this point and make it more of a point again. Or I could lay it down here as I'm doing. And then I could go in here and I could try to gently pull that tip off that I tore, get my fingernail under there, and just set it right down, right where it would have gone. So it's there, and when it fuses, it will just blend right back in and it basically heals itself. So you won't even notice that happened. So right after I talk about it, then I do it. Perfect. So now you get to see. And I do that, sometimes they're just those little veins, they're so thin and so delicate. Sometimes even with being careful, they'll tear. But thankfully the Steam is very forgiving and it allows it to just kind of heal itself back up. You just set it where it was meant to go. Okay, so then C, and we're done with leaves after this. So I'm done with my dark green. And the leaves too, a lot of the times what I'll do is I just kind of find the center, let the leaves fall, and just sort of let them fall where they go. If you're trying to force your appliques into a certain place, then you might have it positioned off a little bit. You know, they usually what will happen is when you put it in the right place, and this is the end of this light green too, they'll just sort of fall right into where they're supposed to go. So if you're putting something down and you're having to try to force it, hang on, pull it back up, recenter it, put it back down, because really you shouldn't have to do that. Okay, so then put it just right in the center and just let them just fall. If they're not perfectly in the center, that's okay. Okay, so now we're on step D, last step, and we're going to finish off all the flower petals. So we're doing, oh, it's funny, my instructions say go petals 1 through 18, and then I say to start and do petals 18 through 33. So obviously we just did 18, so we're going to do 19. So where is 19? 19, by the way, has a little dark brown piece to it. So 19, 19, 19, where are you? Here we go. 19A, it's this light lavender color. And I got a little thread sticking out. $19B is the stem color. And it just kind of hugs it underneath. 20 has an A and a B at least, it looks like. 20A is this light lavender. Oh, it has up through C actually. So 20A is this light lavender color. B is probably going to be, oh, right, yep, right here. 20B is this dark purple. And 20C is, again, this stem color. And we have one more when we get down to 31 that uses a stem piece, but otherwise that's all for that stem color. And now 21 is this lavender. $22A is the lavender. Oh, and there I got a couple little threads sticking out. I'm just going to snip. $22B is the dark purple. I just love lupin. I was mentioning in the fireweed one that this summer we had like some of the most beautiful lupin. They were just everywhere. And the street that I live on, we have a golf course across the street from me, and then down the road we have a baseball field. And almost the entire way from the golf course all the way down the street to the baseball fields were just, the sides of the roads were just covered in lupin. They were so beautiful. And I love lupin. They've always been my favorite flower, wildflower up here. Fireweed, I love the fireweed too. That one is sticking. I'm just going to clip that one off. I love the fireweed too. The only thing for me, and I think for a lot of Alaskans with fireweed, is when you see fireweed, you know that the summer is almost over. And so fireweed they're very beautiful, but it's kind of a melancholy thing because it's like, man, it just seems like summer just started, and then the fireweeds start blooming, and you know that that's kind of coming, the summer's coming to an end. And if any of you have ever done, so I'm on 25A now, and that's it for that light lavender color. If any of you have been on my website and looked at some of my designs, you might have seen that I have a fireweed design, and I called it Summer's End, and that is because for us up here, when you see those fireweed bloom, that is kind of like, oh, the summer is coming to an end. The fireweed are bloomed, and I think there used to be a thing as like Groundhog's Day, like when the fireweed bloom, you have 6 more weeks of summer and then it's over. It's not always necessarily the case. Sometimes they start blooming in July, and it's like, well, I think we're going to get through mid-August. But yeah, it's some years it gets really cold in September, October. Some years, this year, it actually didn't till the end of October, which was kind of nice. So let's see, what am I on? 26. So 26, and we're switching from that lavender, light lavender piece for these little pieces in between the dark purple to this darker kind of, what's it called? Marsala, I think is the name of the color. Yep, Marsala. So 26A is the first of the Marsala colors. But yeah, I have actually, for years, I've tried to plant lupin on my property because I've just wanted to have like where I pull in my driveway and I see lupin everywhere. And I have tried at many of the places I've lived to get the lupin to grow, and I just haven't been able to. And I finally, 2 years ago, I put lupin along my driveway, and last year the leaves came up, but I didn't get any flowers. And I thought, what do I have to do to get lupin? And I went down to where the ball fields were, and I actually went out and like collected seeds, and because I've been told that lupin don't like being transplanted. They like to be, you want lupin, put seeds down, and you got to wait till the next year. So I waited. And then this year, or last year, I only got leaves, and I was so bummed. And then I went and got more seeds, and I threw a bunch more down at around my driveway. And then finally this year I got, not a huge amount, but I did get blossoms, and I was so happy. And mostly on one side of my driveway. And then my husband had a four-wheeler, and toward the end of the summer, all of a sudden, let's see, 28 is this one down here. This other lupin on the opposite side of the driveway decides to go and bloom. And I was so happy because it was a late bloomer. And so there weren't a lot of lupin left. So I was really happy just that I had another lupin to look at. And then I was just really pleased that another one bloomed on that side. And I was hoping, oh good, it'll go to seed. Hopefully it'll, spread its seeds and we'll get more lupin on that side next year. And then he took his four-wheeler and drove through this little trail that him and my kids have made that I always tell them not to because it just kills all the vegetation over there. And I'm always like, just stay on the road. You don't have to drive through there. Well, he drove through it and he drove over my lupin. And I went out there one day and it was gone. And it had been in full bloom the day before, and I didn't see it. And I walked over there because I could see that somebody had driven a four-wheeler through. And I was like, okay, who drove through my lupin? And he was kind of like, oh crap, it was me. So I told him, you killed my only lupin on that side of the road. They didn't drive through there again, so that was kind of nice. Even though he'd already killed it, it was like, well, it's too late. Okay, so 31 is the one, it's just purple, and it has the part B is actually the stem. So if that's one where you're like looking and looking and looking, 31 is this last little bit of stem. We're almost done. As you get doing these, they're going to go faster and faster. I know this one is got a lot of pieces and it is a little complicated. I am quick. Yes, I am. So I've done them quite a few times, and I get to do them again because my videos got deleted by Facebook. Thanks so much, Facebook. But as you get going and as you get used to the process, you'll find that, it'll go faster and faster. And some of the blocks are actually really easy. This one, notice one thing about Alaskan flowers. A lot of our flowers have a lot of little pieces to them. They're not like necessarily big, huge, petals, big blossoms. They've got a lot of little tiny blossoms. Okay, so I'm doing 33. This is the last one. And boom, lupin is finished. I'm going to turn the light off there so you can take a look at it. And that went pretty quick, less than 30 minutes. Now, don't try to time yourself by me. Like I said, I do go pretty fast. So now at this point, now all we need to do is fuse it. So we're going to do the same thing as we've done on all the other blocks. You can use your steam iron, and just if my hand is the iron, hold it about an inch or so from the appliques. Oh, wait, I always jump ahead. Hang on. First, take your iron and just gently press over everything to warm up that glue and get it to stick to the background before you go doing any steaming. So you're just going to do it on all of it, especially the little tiny pieces in here. Once you've done that, then take your iron with your steam, hold it about an inch above, blast it with steam for about 6 seconds or so, and then just set it right down on that footprint for about another 8 to 10 seconds. Do the next footprint, all the way around, getting everything. And then when you're finished, flip it over and do it again from the back. And then you've got block number, oh no, I was going to say 6. 5. Block number 5 is finished. All right. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed those. I'm going to do blueberry probably tomorrow, and I'm going to maybe try to get the forget-me-not one done for those of you who didn't get to that one. And I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will be back again soon.